The silence inside the Sterling mansion was never a peaceful silence. It was the kind that made people walk softly, lower their voices, and avoid eye contact. The kind that warned everyone something terrible was about to happen. Then it came. A loud crash shattered the morning. A crystal vase worth more than most families earned in 5 years exploded against the marble wall, sending glittering shards across the polished floor. Nobody rushed upstairs. Not the security guards. Not the housekeepers. Not the chef who had just finished preparing breakfast. Not even the board members waiting in the grand conference room for the 9 o'clock strategy meeting. Every person inside the mansion knew exactly what that sound meant. Ethan Sterling was angry again. And when the billionaire's only son lost his temper, the safest place was as far away from him as possible. Victoria Sterling stood motionless at the entrance of her son's private lounge. She didn't flinch. She didn't scream. She simply watched another priceless object become dust. Ethan's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His eyes were bloodshot. His fists were clenched so tightly that his knuckles had turned white. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Victoria broke the silence. "Ethan." Her voice was gentle. Too gentle. "I know you're upset." He laughed. It wasn't the laugh of someone amused. It was the bitter laugh of someone who had waited years to be heard. "Upset?" He looked around the room littered with broken glass. "You think this is because I'm upset?" His voice grew louder. "No, Mother. This..." He pointed to the destruction around him. "Is 24 years of waiting." Victoria swallowed hard. She had faced hostile investors. She had negotiated billion-dollar mergers. She had stood before presidents, governors, and global business leaders without fear. Yet standing in front of her own son, she felt powerless. "I've always done everything for you." Ethan smiled. That sentence, he had heard it all his life. "You've done everything." He nodded slowly. "Except the one thing I actually needed." Victoria frowned. "What are you talking about?" He stared directly into her eyes. "I needed my mother." The word struck harder than any slap. Outside the half-open door, the house staff lowered their heads. Some of them had worked for the Sterling family for over 20 years. They remembered Ethan as a little boy, bright, curious, always asking questions, always looking for his mother. Back then, he used to wait by the front window every evening. The driver would pull into the compound. He would run barefoot across the hallway with the biggest smile on his face. Mummy's home. But most nights, she wasn't. The car belonged to her assistant, or her lawyer, or another executive delivering documents that couldn't wait until morning. The real Victoria Sterling would arrive long after midnight. By then, her little boy would already be asleep. Back in the present, Ethan let out a slow breath. "Tell me something." Victoria remained silent. "When was the last time we had dinner together?" She searched her memory. Nothing came. He nodded. "I knew you wouldn't remember." "When was the last time you came to one of my football matches?" Silence. "When was the last time you asked me if I was happy?" Victoria opened her mouth. No answer came. Ethan wasn't finished. "When was the last time we laughed together?" "Without your phone ringing?" Every question landed like another crack in the wall she had spent decades building around herself. She wasn't an uncaring mother. She loved her son with everything she had. Or at least, she believed she did. She gave him the best schools, the best tutors, the best doctors, the safest home, luxury cars before he was old enough to appreciate them, vacations on private islands, birthdays that celebrities attended, anything money could buy. Ethan had it, everything except the one thing money had quietly stolen. Time. Victoria took one cautious step forward. "I worked this hard for us. For our future. For your future." Ethan shook his head. "No, you worked because you couldn't stop." The sentence hung in the air. For the first time, Victoria looked away. Outside the mansion windows, television crews were already gathering. In less than 2 hours, she would announce the largest acquisition in her company's history. Business channels called her the Iron Queen, the woman who never lost, the billionaire who built an empire from nothing. Magazines praised her discipline. Universities invited her to inspire graduates. Young entrepreneurs worship her. Nobody knew that every award she accepted came with another family dinner she missed, another school play she never attended, another bedtime story left unread. Success had demanded sacrifices. She simply hadn't realized. Her son had been the one paying the price. Ethan walked toward the enormous window overlooking the city. From there, the skyline carried her name. Sterling Towers, Sterling Plaza, Sterling Financial Center. Her empire stood everywhere. He spoke without turning around. "Do you know what people say about me?" Victoria frowned. "They say I'm lucky." He laughed softly. "They think growing up rich means growing up loved." He paused. "I've never felt poorer." The words settled over the room like heavy rain. Victoria's eyes began to fill, not because she was offended, because she remembered one memory, a small one, but it refused to leave. Ethan had been 8 years old. It was Parents' Day at school. She had promised no meetings, no phone calls. Nothing would stop her from coming. That morning, an overseas investor landed unexpectedly. The meeting would determine the future of the company. Her assistant had asked only one question: "Should I cancel the school event?" Victoria didn't answer immediately. She stared at the family photograph on her desk. Little Ethan was smiling, holding a handmade card that read, "My mom is my hero." She closed her eyes, then quietly said, "Tell the driver to represent me." She had convinced herself he would understand. Children always understand, don't they? She never noticed that after that day, he stopped asking whether she would attend. He simply assumed she wouldn't. Back in the present, Victoria felt something inside her breaking. Not pride, not confidence, something much deeper. A mother's certainty that she had done everything right. Because suddenly, she wasn't so sure anymore. And neither of them realized the conversation happening inside that room would soon spread far beyond the walls of the Sterling mansion. It would shake their family, challenge everything Victoria believed about success, and force one of the most powerful women in the country to answer a question no billionaire could escape. What is the value of an empire? If it costs you your child, Victoria Sterling couldn't remember the last time her son had looked at her with so much pain. Not anger, pain. There was a difference. Anger could be answered. Pain had to be understood. For several long seconds, the billionaire mother stood frozen among the broken pieces of crystal scattered across the marble floor. Each shard reflected her trembling face. Each one felt like another piece of her heart. She wanted to walk over and hug her son the way she used to when he was little. But the distance between them felt greater than the thousands of miles she often traveled for business. "Ethan," her voice barely escaped her lips. "I never wanted this." He turned slowly. His eyes were wet, but his face remained hard. "You never wanted this." He nodded. "I believe you." Then he looked around the enormous living room. "But that's a problem. You never wanted it. You just never noticed it happening." Victoria lowered her eyes. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to her without fear, without admiration, without asking for anything, just the truth. And truth had never hurt this much. 20 years earlier, the Sterling mansion had sounded very different. Laughter echoed through its hallways. Tiny footsteps raced across polished floors. 5-year-old Ethan loved only one game, hide and seek. Every evening, just before 6 o'clock, he would hide behind the grand staircase. His tiny hands covered his mouth to stop himself from giggling. The front gate would open. A black luxury car would drive inside. He would whisper excitedly, "Mummy is home." Then he'd jump out, "Found me." Only, most evenings, the person stepping out wasn't his mother. Sometimes it was her secretary. Sometimes it was a lawyer carrying files. Sometimes it was another executive collecting documents. Each time, the little boy's smile faded just a little. "Where's Mummy?" The answer never changed. "She's still in a meeting. She's traveling. She'll be home later." Later. That word became part of Ethan's childhood. We'll play later. We'll eat together later. We'll go to the park later. We'll watch your football match later. But later rarely came. One rainy Saturday afternoon, Ethan sat on the living room floor with hundreds of colorful building blocks. He had spent 3 days building a miniature version of his mother's headquarters. Every tiny window, every parking lot, every little tree. He wanted to surprise her. The housekeeper smiled. "Master Ethan, this is beautiful." He beamed. "I'm going to show Mummy." "What time is she coming?" The housekeeper hesitated. "I'm sure she'll be here soon." Hours passed. The little boy refused to eat. "I'll wait." The rain grew heavier outside. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9. Finally, headlights appeared through the window. Ethan jumped to his feet. "Mummy." He ran barefoot across the marble floor. Victoria walked in, still speaking through a wireless earpiece. "No. I want the Singapore contract signed before morning." She barely noticed a little boy tugging at her jacket. "Mummy." She raised one finger. 1 minute. Still talking, still walking, still negotiating. Ethan smiled patiently. 1 minute. He could wait. 5 minutes became 15. 15 became 30. Eventually, Victoria entered her home office and closed the door. The meeting continued. The little boy remained outside, holding his toy building, waiting. At almost 11 that night, the housekeeper found him asleep on the floor. His tiny hands were still wrapped around the building blocks. Half the little skyscrapers had collapsed. She carried him gently to bed. The next morning, Victoria saw the broken toy. She smiled. What a creative boy. Then she rushed off to catch another flight. She never knew he had waited 4 hours just to hear her say, "I'm proud of you." Back in the present, Victoria covered her mouth. The memory struck her with frightening clarity. How had she forgotten something so important? Or perhaps she had never truly seen it. Business had trained her mind to remember numbers, profits, deadlines, contracts, growth charts. But the moments that build a child, those never appeared on financial reports. Ethan noticed the tears forming in her eyes. "You don't remember everything," he said quietly, "but I do. I remember every promise. I remember every canceled birthday. I remember every empty chair at school. I remember standing on stage looking into the audience, hoping today would be different." Victoria's shoulders trembled. "Ethan, I was building a future for us." He shook his head slowly. "No, you were building buildings. I was building loneliness." The room fell silent again. Outside, the city celebrated Victoria Sterling as one of the greatest business leaders of her generation. Inside her own home, she was beginning to wonder if she had failed at the one title that mattered most, mother, and neither of them realized. The hardest truth was still waiting to be spoken. The room had become unbearably quiet, not because there was nothing left to say, but because both of them were afraid of what would come next. Victoria Sterling slowly lowered herself onto the edge of a leather sofa. For the first time in 25 years, she wasn't thinking about the stock market. She wasn't thinking about shareholders. She wasn't thinking about the board meeting waiting downstairs. She was thinking about one question: when did I lose my son? Across the room, Ethan stared through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the city below. Thousands of people were already on their way to work. Some were chasing promotions. Some were chasing dreams. Some were chasing money. Just as his mother had done for most of her life, without turning around, he spoke. "Do you know what I hated most?" Victoria looked up. It wasn't the missed birthdays. It wasn't the expensive schools. It wasn't even the business trips. She frowned. Then what was it? Ethan finally turned to face her. "You never asked me what was happening inside my heart." The words pierced her soul. "You knew my grades. You knew my bank account. You knew the names of my teachers. You knew where I traveled every holiday." He paused. "But you never knew when I was lonely." Victoria's eyes filled again. "You never knew when I was scared. You never knew when I couldn't sleep. You never knew when I was bullied." Her breathing became uneven, and the saddest part, His voice cracked. "I stopped expecting you to know." Children don't always cry because they are stubborn. Sometimes they cry because they are invisible. At 7 years old, Ethan had discovered that talking to his mother required an appointment. Every Sunday evening, Victoria created what she proudly called Family Hour. From 6 o'clock until 7, one uninterrupted hour. No meetings, no business calls, no investors. She believed she had finally found balance. The first Sunday, Ethan couldn't stop smiling. He had spent the entire afternoon writing down questions for his mother. He folded the little paper and kept it inside his pocket. Questions only a little boy would ask. Why is the moon following our car? Do birds ever get tired of flying? When I become a daddy, will you still love me? 6 o'clock arrived. Victoria sat beside him. So, what would you like to talk about? Before Ethan could answer, her phone vibrated. She looked at the screen. An overseas investor. It'll only take 1 minute. She answered. 1 minute became 15, then 20, then 40. When she finally ended the call, the little boy had fallen asleep. The folded paper was still inside his pocket. She kissed his forehead. I'll make it up to him next week. Next week, another emergency came. Then another. Then another. Eventually, Family Hour quietly disappeared. No one ever mentioned it again. Especially Ethan. Back in the present, Victoria covered her face. I remember that Sunday. Her voice trembled. I really thought the call would only take a minute. Ethan gave a painful smile. I know. You always believed there would be another chance. He slowly walked toward a shattered vase lying between them. Carefully, he picked up one broken piece, holding it in front of his mother. Do you see this? Victoria nodded. It can never become the same vase again. She whispered, No. He placed the crystal gently back on the floor. Words are like this. So is trust. So is childhood. When they break, they can be repaired. But the cracks never completely disappear. Victoria felt tears streaming freely down her cheeks. 4 years, she had believed success required sacrifice. Now she was discovering something terrifying. She had sacrificed the wrong things. The memories refused to stop. When Ethan turned 10, his school organized a father and mother career day. Parents would spend 1 hour talking about their work. The children were excited. Doctors, teachers, architects, pilots, business owners. Everyone came. Everyone, except Victoria. That morning she had recorded a short video instead. It played on the classroom projector. Hello everyone. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there today. My company is completing an important merger. I know Ethan understands. The video ended. The classroom became quiet. A little girl sitting beside Ethan whispered, Does your mom love work more than you? He laughed, pretended it didn't hurt, and answered, She's just busy. But children notice what adults try to hide. That afternoon, for the first time in his life, Ethan lied. When the driver asked, How was school? He smiled. It was great. It wasn't. Victoria closed her eyes. Every forgotten memory returned with unbearable clarity. Every promise, every excuse, every postponed conversation, every later. She suddenly understood something no business school had ever taught her. Children don't stop talking because they have nothing to say. They stop talking when they believe no one is truly listening. A tear rolled down Ethan's face. I didn't become angry overnight. I became silent first. I stopped telling you about my day. I stopped showing you my drawings. I stopped asking you to come. And when silence wasn't enough, he looked directly into her eyes. Anger became the only language he could hear. Those words shattered the last wall around Victoria's heart. For the first time since becoming one of the world's most powerful women, she realized she had spent decades mastering the art of leading companies, while forgetting how to lead a family. But what neither mother nor son knew was that someone had been quietly watching Ethan's life from a distance. Someone who saw the lonely boy hidden behind the expensive suits. Someone who would soon challenge everything he believed about love, respect, and what it truly meant to become a man. For the first time in years, Victoria Sterling looked at her son and saw the little boy she had lost. Not the angry young man standing before her, not the billionaire's arrogant heir the newspapers loved to criticize, not the reckless playboy whose name had become a regular feature in gossip columns. She saw a frightened child who had simply grown taller. Her voice trembled. "Ethan, if I had listened." He shook his head gently. "No, this isn't about one conversation. It's about thousands of conversations we never had." The words settled into her heart like stones. She wanted to argue. She wanted to defend herself. She wanted to remind him that everything she had done was for him. But for the first time, she realized intentions do not erase consequences. Love that isn't expressed can still feel like absence. A week later, the Sterling family was once again making headlines, but not for the reasons Victoria had hoped. Billionaire heir involved in another nightclub altercation. Business tycoon son accused of assaulting a photographer. Security team settles dispute out of court. Victoria folded the newspaper and placed it on her desk. Her eyes lingered on the photograph. There stood Ethan. Expensive designer suit, luxury sports car, dark sunglasses, an expression so cold she barely recognized him. Her assistant quietly entered the office. "The board is waiting, ma'am." Victoria didn't move. Instead, she asked a question she had never asked before. "Has anyone spoken to my son?" The assistant looked surprised. "I'm not sure, ma'am." "No," Victoria whispered. "I mean really spoken to him." The assistant lowered her eyes. There was no answer. Across the city, Ethan sat alone inside an exclusive private club. Around him, laughter filled the room. Champagne glasses clinked. Music echoed through the expensive lounge. His friends celebrated another business deal, another investment, another luxury purchase. Yet Ethan barely listened. One of his friends slapped him on the shoulder. "You're quiet today." "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." Another laughed. "Forget what Terry your mother said. Let's fly to Monaco this weekend." Someone else added, "Or Dubai. You need a vacation." Ethan forced a smile. They thought he needed another destination. What he really needed was a conversation, a real one, not about money, not about business, not about status. But none of the people around the table knew how to have one. Their friendships had been built on access, not authenticity. When the laughter grew louder, Ethan quietly stood. "I'm leaving." "So early." "I've got somewhere to be." He lied. He had nowhere to go. He drove for nearly an hour without choosing a destination. The city lights blurred through his windshield. Every traffic signal became another excuse not to return home. Because home no longer felt like home. It felt like a luxury hotel. Beautiful, perfect, and emotionally empty. Eventually, he stopped outside a neighborhood he hadn't visited in years. The old community football field. The place where he had once dreamed of becoming a professional player. Children were still playing under worn-out floodlights. The goalposts were rusted. The grass was uneven. Their football was patched together with tape. Yet, they laughed as though they owned the world. Ethan leaned against his car and watched. One little boy missed an easy goal. Instead of mocking him, his father ran onto the field, wrapped an arm around his shoulders. "You'll score the next one." The boy grinned. "I know, Dad." The father smiled. "Come on. Show me." The game continued. Ethan couldn't take his eyes off them, not because the football was impressive, but because of something he had never experienced. The father wasn't giving instructions. He wasn't buying expensive equipment. He wasn't solving every problem. He was simply present. That single word echoed in Ethan's mind. Present. A memory surfaced without warning. He had been 12. His school had reached the championship final. For weeks, he had begged his mother to come. "This one is important. I promise I'll score." Victoria had smiled while signing documents. "I'll be there." He believed her. For 90 minutes, He kept looking toward the VIP section. Every time the crowd cheered, he searched for her face. The seats remained empty. His team lost. After the match, he sat alone in the locker room, still wearing muddy boots. Everyone else had left with their families. The coach found him staring at the floor. "You played well." Ethan forced a smile. "My mom was busy." The coach sat beside him. "Son, there are some victories children don't measure with trophies. They measure them by who shows up." Those words had stayed with him for 12 years. Now, standing beside a dusty football field, he finally understood why they still hurt. As he turned to leave, a football rolled gently toward his feet. A little girl, no older than 9, ran after it. She stopped a few feet away. "Please, can you kick it back?" Ethan picked up the ball. "You played too." She nodded proudly. "My daddy says girls can do anything boys can." He smiled despite himself. "Your dad sounds wise." She beamed. "He's my best friend." Best friend. The words lingered long after she ran away. Ethan stood frozen. He couldn't remember ever calling his mother his best friend. In fact, he couldn't remember the last meaningful conversation they had shared before the argument in the mansion. As he watched the little girl laugh with her father, a painful realization settled over him. Children don't remember every gift they receive, but they rarely forget who made them feel safe, who listened without rushing, who chose them over everything else, even if only for a little while. Behind him, a calm voice broke the silence. Funny how the smallest moments can reveal the biggest truths. Ethan turned. Standing a few steps away was a simply dressed young woman carrying a bag of groceries. She had witnessed the exchange with the little girl. There was nothing flashy about her. No designer clothes, no expensive jewelry, just quiet confidence. She looked at Ethan, not with admiration, not with fear, and not because she recognized the billionaire heir. She looked at him as if she could see beyond the expensive suit, to the lonely little boy still waiting to be heard. And for the first time in many years, someone was about to speak to Ethan without caring who his mother was or how much money he had. That unexpected conversation will become the turning point not only in Ethan's life, but in the life of the billionaire mother who believed she had already lost her son. Ethan turned toward the young woman. She looked to be in her late 20s. Simple blue jeans, a plain white blouse, no designer handbag, no expensive jewelry, just a canvas grocery bag resting comfortably against her shoulder. There was something unusual about her. She wasn't trying to impress him. She wasn't pretending not to recognize him either. She simply wasn't interested in his status. "You know who I am?" Ethan asked. She smiled politely. "Yes." "And you're still talking to me?" She shrugged. "Should I be afraid?" For the first time that day, Ethan didn't know how to answer. Most people treated him in one of two ways. They either feared him or they wanted something from him. This woman did neither. She stepped closer and looked toward a football field where children were still laughing. "You were watching that father and his daughter." Ethan nodded. "They looked happy." "They are." She replied, "Because happiness doesn't begin with money. It begins with presence." Those words landed heavily. Almost the same lesson life had been trying to teach him all day. She extended her hand. "I'm Grace." "Ethan." "I know." She smiled. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. The evening breeze carried the joyful voices of children across the field. Grace finally broke the silence. "May I ask you something?" "You can ask." "Do you enjoy being when everyone thinks you are?" The question caught him completely off guard. "What do you mean?" "The newspapers describe you as arrogant. The internet calls you spoiled. People say you solve every problem with money." She paused, "But when I looked at you just now, I didn't see an arrogant one. I saw a lonely one." Ethan felt something tighten inside his chest. No one had ever described him that way. Not because it wasn't true, because nobody had cared enough to notice. Grace sat on a nearby bench. Without thinking, Ethan sat beside her. "You know," she said softly, "I teach children." "You do?" She nodded. Primary school. Ethan smiled faintly. That must be difficult. It is. But children are honest. They tell you everything. Until adults teach them to stop talking. Those words sounded painfully familiar. She continued, I've noticed something over the years. The children with the biggest houses often carry the biggest loneliness. Ethan looked at her. She wasn't judging wealthy families. She was speaking from experience. They have every toy, every gadget, the best schools. But many of them have never had a real conversation with their parents. They know how to unlock the latest phone, but not how to unlock their own emotions. Ethan lowered his head. He suddenly remembered something. He was 13. His birthday. Victoria had surprised him with the newest luxury sports car available for teenagers to drive on private property. Every guest applauded. Television cameras captured the moment. The celebration appeared in magazines. People called him the luckiest boy in the country. No one knew he had spent that birthday wishing for something much smaller. He wanted his mother to eat cake with him without answering her phone. Grace noticed the sadness on his face. You're remembering something. He nodded slowly. My mother always bought the biggest gifts. She smiled gently. But that's not what you wanted. No. What did you want? He stared toward the children playing football. I wanted her attention. The words came out almost as a whisper. Grace didn't interrupt. Silence can sometimes comfort more than advice. After a while, she asked, Have you ever told her that? Ethan laughed bitterly. I shouted it today. She shook her head. No, not shouted. Told. He frowned. There's a difference. When people shout, they stop listening. When people speak from the heart, sometimes healing begins. At that very moment, across the city, Victoria Sterling was sitting alone inside her office. The board meeting had ended 2 hours earlier. She had signed documents worth billions. Yet, she couldn't remember a single number. Her mind kept returning to one sentence. I asked for your time, but you kept sending me your money. She opened the bottom drawer of her desk. Inside was an old photo album, covered in dust. She couldn't remember the last time she had opened it. Slowly, she turned the first page. There was Ethan, a newborn sleeping peacefully in her arms. Another page, his first birthday. Another, his first day of school. Then, something unexpected fell from between the pages. A folded sheet of paper, yellow with age. Victoria unfolded it carefully. Childish handwriting filled the page. It read, Things I want to do with my mummy. Eat ice cream together. Go to the zoo. Watch football. Read one story before bed. Cook pancakes. Build a treehouse. Go fishing. Hold your hand when I get scared. At the bottom, a sentence almost erased by time. I don't want presents. I just want you. Victoria's hands began to shake. She couldn't breathe. The paper slipped onto the disk as tears rolled freely down her cheeks. She had spent millions buying happiness, when her son had been asking for moments that cost absolutely nothing. For the first time in decades, the billionaire who had never cried during business failures, who had never cried when competitors betrayed her, who had never cried during the hardest days of building her empire, bowed her head and wept like a mother who had finally seen the invisible wounds her child had carried for years. But somewhere across the city, neither she nor Ethan knew that this chance meeting with Grace was no accident, because Grace herself carried a painful family story, one that would soon force both mother and son to confront an even deeper truth. Sometimes, the greatest inheritance parents leave behind isn't wealth. It is the way they teach their children to love, to listen, and to become people of character. And Grace's story was about to change everything. The evening sky slowly surrendered to darkness. The football field was almost empty now. Only a few children remained, chasing the last moments of daylight as if time itself were part of the game. Ethan and Grace still sat on the old wooden bench. Neither of them seemed eager to leave. For the first time in many years, Ethan wasn't sitting across from someone who wanted his signature, his influence, or his mother's money. He was simply talking, and strangely, it felt unfamiliar. Grace looked toward the children packing their football into a worn backpack. They'll sleep well tonight. Ethan smiled. They don't even have proper boots. They don't need perfect boots. She replied, they have each other. Then she looked at him. Can I tell you a story? Ethan nodded. I'm listening. Grace smiled softly. My father never earned much. He repaired bicycles. Some months, we struggled to pay our rent. But every evening, no matter how tired he was, he would sit outside our little house with me. She laughed quietly. We didn't have expensive toys, so we'd count the stars. We'd tell stories. We'd guess the shapes of the clouds. Sometimes we'd buy one roasted corn and share it. Ethan listened carefully. She wasn't describing poverty. She was describing love. My father always said something. Grace continued. Children don't spell love with money. They spell it Taemi. The word settled into Ethan's heart. Simple, yet impossible to ignore. Grace continued. When I turned 16, my father became seriously ill. He couldn't repair bicycles anymore. So after school, I worked in a small grocery shop. I wanted to help. Ethan asked quietly, were you angry? She smiled. No, because before he lost his strength, he had already given me everything I needed. Ethan frowned. But you just said your family struggled. She nodded. We struggled financially, not emotionally. My father taught me honesty. He taught me kindness. He taught me to apologize when I was wrong. He taught me to keep my word. He taught me that people are always more important than possessions. She paused. When he died, he left me no money, but he left me a fortune. Ethan looked confused. What fortune? Grace placed her hand over her heart. Character. Silence. Not the uncomfortable silence of strangers. The peaceful silence of truth finding its way into someone's soul. Across the city, Victoria Sterling had not moved from her office. The old list Ethan had written as a child still lay on her desk. I don't want presents. I just want you. She read those words again and again. Then something else caught her attention. Tucked inside the back cover of the photo album was another drawing. It was crumpled, faded, almost forgotten. A picture drawn in colored pencils. A little boy, a little girl, a father, a mother, holding hands. Above them, a bright yellow sun. Underneath, in uneven handwriting, one day we'll all eat dinner together. Victoria covered her mouth. She couldn't remember that drawing, but Ethan clearly had. Someone had carefully folded it, kept it, protected it, not because it was beautiful, because it represented a dream that never came true. She leaned back in her chair. For the first time, she asked herself a question that terrified her. Had I been raising a son, or merely financing a childhood? The answer broke her heart. Back at the football field, Grace stood up. I should go. Ethan found himself disappointed. Can I see you again? She smiled. Maybe. He laughed. That's not much of an answer. It depends. On what? She looked directly into his eyes. Whether you're looking for someone to admire your wealth, or someone willing to challenge your character. Those words lingered between them. I don't need admiration anymore. Ethan admitted, I had plenty of that. What I need, he hesitated, is someone who tells me the truth. Grace nodded. The truth isn't always comfortable. I've noticed, he replied with a faint smile. As she began walking away, she stopped and turned back. May I give you one piece of advice? I'm listening. Stop blaming your mother for the man you become. Ethan's expression changed immediately. What? She continued gently. She made mistakes. Very serious mistakes. But you're 24 now. Every day you wake up, you choose the kind of man you'll become. You can spend the rest of your life proving your mother failed you, or you can become the proof that people can change. Her words landed like thunder. No one had ever challenged him that way. Everyone else either defended him or condemned him. Grace did neither. She held him accountable without humiliating him. She saw the wounded child, but she refused to excuse the grown one. And that hurt more than criticism, because it was true. That night, Ethan returned to the mansion. For once, there were no speeding cars, no nightclub plans, no loud music, no angry outbursts. The house felt unusually still. As he walked through the hallway, he noticed something strange. The lights in his mother's office were still on. He paused outside the door. Through the slightly open doorway, he saw Victoria sitting alone. She wasn't working. She wasn't speaking on the phone. She wasn't signing contracts. She was holding a child's drawing against her chest, crying quietly, not the tears of a billionaire, the tears of a mother who had finally realized that while she had built an empire the world admired, she had neglected the conversations that build a child's heart. Ethan remained frozen in the hallway. For the first time in years, he didn't see the Iron Queen. He saw a lonely woman carrying the weight of choices she could never undo. And for the first time, he wondered whether forgiveness might require courage from both of them. Neither mother nor son spoke that night. But something had changed. The wall between them had cracked, not enough to let everything through, but enough for hope to find its way inside. For the first time in nearly 15 years, Ethan knocked on his mother's office door, not because he wanted permission, not because he needed money, simply because he wanted to talk. Inside, Victoria quickly wiped the tears from her face. "Come in." Ethan stepped inside quietly. His eyes fell on the old drawing lying on her desk, the little family holding hands beneath the bright yellow sun. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Victoria picked up the drawing. "I kept building companies while you were drawing the family you wished you had." Her voice broke. "I'm so sorry, Ethan." There were no excuses, no mention of shareholders, no explanations about business, only a mother's broken heart. "I thought giving you everything would make you happy. I didn't realize I was giving you everything except myself." Tears rolled freely down Ethan's face. For years, he had imagined this moment. He thought hearing those words would erase the pain. It didn't, but somehow they made healing possible. He slowly walked toward her. "You know, I've spent years blaming you." Victoria lowered her head. "You had every right." "No." He shook his head. "You made mistakes. So have I. I used my childhood as an excuse to become someone I didn't even like." He smiled faintly. "I met someone yesterday." Victoria looked up. "A woman. She told me something I'll never forget." "What did she say?" Ethan's eyes softened. "She said I could spend my life proving my mother failed me, or become proof that people can change." Victoria closed her eyes. Whoever this woman was, she had given her son something money never could: hope. The weeks that followed surprised everyone. The newspapers expected another scandal. Instead, something entirely different happened. Employees arrived at Sterling Holdings one Monday morning to find Ethan waiting at the entrance. No bodyguards, no expensive entourage, just Ethan. He walked from one employee to another, shaking hands, learning names, listening. The elderly security guard he had once ignored looked startled. "Good morning, sir." Ethan smiled. "No, good morning." He looked at the man's name badge. "Mr. Daniel." The old man's eyes widened. It was the first time the billionaire heir had ever called him by name. One by one, Ethan began repairing relationships. He apologized to the chauffeur he had insulted. He visited the photographer he had once humiliated. He quietly paid the medical bills of a young waiter he had embarrassed years earlier, not to erase his guilt, but because it was the right thing to do. Some people forgave him, some didn't. He accepted both. Grace had been right. Character wasn't built in a single conversation. It was built through consistent choices. Victoria changed too. For the first time in 30 years, She declined an international business summit. The business world couldn't believe it. Journalists speculated she was retiring. They were wrong. She had simply chosen dinner with her son. That evening, the mansion's dining table was set for only 2 people. No executives, no assistants, no phones, just a mother and her son. The first dinner lasted nearly 3 hours. They laughed, they cried, they remembered, they spoke about things they had avoided for years. The food grew cold. Neither of them noticed, because for the first time, they were feeding something far more important than their bodies. They were rebuilding trust. And unlike the empire Victoria had built, this was one investment she refused to neglect. Months passed. Then one afternoon, Ethan brought Grace to the mansion. Victoria welcomed her warmly. As they talked, Victoria noticed something remarkable. Grace never praised Ethan's wealth. She praised his patience. She admired his honesty. She celebrated the little ways he was changing. When Grace left that evening, Victoria smiled at her son. "Don't lose her." Ethan laughed. "I don't plan to." A year later, they stood before family and friends and exchanged their vows. There were no headlines about extravagant gifts, no stories about celebrity guests. Instead, the moment everyone remembered came during Victoria's speech. She stepped onto the stage. The room became quiet. She looked at Ethan, then at Grace. Finally, she faced the hundreds of guests before her. "I've spent my life teaching people how to build successful businesses." She paused. "But no one ever taught me how easy it is to become successful in the boardroom, while quietly becoming absent at home." The room was silent. She continued, "I believe my greatest gift to my son would be the empire I built." She smiled through tears. "I was wrong. My greatest gift should have been my presence." She looked directly at the parents seated in the audience. If you have children waiting for you tonight, don't let another meeting steal another memory. Money can replace many things, but it can never replace a missed childhood. Many guests quietly wiped away tears. Even the waiters had stopped working to listen. 3 years later, the Sterling mansion sounded different, not quieter, happier. Laughter echoed through the hallways once again. Tiny footsteps ran across polished floors. Only this time, a little boy raced through the garden chasing a football. "Daddy." Ethan laughed as he kicked the ball back. "I'm coming." His phone began ringing. Then again. The screen flashed. Urgent board meeting. His son looked at the phone. "Dad, aren't you going to answer?" Ethan picked it up, looked at the screen, then smiled. He pressed the silent button and slipped it back into his pocket. He knelt beside his son. "There will always be another meeting." He gently ruffled the boy's hair. "But you'll only be this little once." His son threw his arms around him. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too." From the veranda, Victoria watched them. Tears filled her eyes once more. Not tears of regret, not tears of guilt, but tears of gratitude. The cycle had finally been broken. Her grandson would grow up with something Ethan had once prayed for. A father who showed up, a father who listened, a father who understood that love is measured not by what you provide, but by the moments you choose to be present. Victoria looked toward the sky and whispered softly, "This is the greatest inheritance our family will ever leave behind." And in that moment, the billionaire finally understood a truth no fortune could ever purchase. The richest families are not those who possess the most wealth. They are those who never allow success to replace love. If this story touched your heart, take a moment today to call someone you love. Put your phone down during dinner or spend a little extra time with your children. Years from now, they may not remember every gift you gave them, but they'll remember that you were there. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Echoes of Wisdom, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next powerful narrative. And tell us in the comments, what do you think is a parent's greatest responsibility? Providing financially, being emotionally present, or finding the balance between both? Your story might encourage someone else who needs to hear it today. Until our next story, remember, The greatest legacy you leave behind isn't measured by the wealth in your hands, but by the love you plant in the hearts of those who call you family.